Who do we have coming up first?
Well, we have Anjuli, who will be talking about, give me 1 second, about getting started. And
Hello.
yeah, hello.
Hello, everyone. Nice to be here.
It's awesome to have you. Thanks so much for joining us here to do this.
No problem.
Yeah, it's so you're in the Netherlands as well? So
Yes.
you're with me in this wonderful, amazing weather that we're having at the moment. It's not grey and miserable at all, but it's
No,
Halloween.
not at all.
So it fits.
It fits perfectly. Yes.
If
And
it makes you happier, it's the same here.
Oh.
If it makes you happy, you can't go to Sweden and escape it.
No, I could figure, but
Awesome. Okay, so you're going to be talking to us about getting started with static web apps, and I think it's worth repeating. We have this on the site as well. The idea for today is to really help you grow your way through static web apps. It is an amazing piece of technology that I have loved since it's been in preview. I've been talking about it for years. I wrote a book about it a couple of years ago. Don't go out and buy it because I'm rewriting it at the moment. Go out and buy it at the beginning of next year. Shameless plug there. But I don't think it gets the love that it should get. And I think that in too many people's eyes, it's still seen as this toy more than this serious resource that you can do stuff with. So we thought we'd put this conference together, and we're focusing on the free tier today. So all of the stuff you can do without spending any money. And yeah, we're going to start with Anjuli, getting started, playing with it, seeing what it can do. And then we're going to go a little bit deeper with each session. And the last 2 sessions of the day, Eric's and Jeff Fritz's, they are going to be talking about real-world experiences of things that they built and ran on static web apps. So hopefully by the end of today, you're going to have a nice, well-wounded idea of what you can do with static web apps. And yeah, go out and try it yourself and see what we can do. And I've just seen a message from Rick. We're supposed to get some sun this afternoon, which probably translates to a ray of sun or two. Yeah, that kind of, that seems about accurate for me.
If you get more than 5 minutes, it's a win.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got just a couple of minutes before Anjuli's due to start. We have all of the sessions are going to start on the hour. They're all going to take plus minus 45 minutes, including questions. And then we're going to have a 15-minute rest between each session. Idea being, if there's some things that you really want to get into, then you can come on the hour at that time and get into the session. So we've got no strange starting times at 10 minutes to the hour or quarter past the hour. On the hour, every hour, until 8 o'clock tonight, Central European time. And we have an amount of people talking in the chat room already. So we have Andreas is going to be on later. Epic intro. Thank you so much. I was trying to figure out, is that over the top or is that doable?
Oh, it's amazing.
I so enjoyed doing that.
Yeah. Oh, it's really nice. I didn't expect it though, but this is really fun to look at. It's in the Halloween style.
I've got to do the Halloween
at
style.
The end.
Yeah.
We got a Croning Technology joining in. So thank you there for Croning. And we have Robert joining. So hello, Robert. And there's our coding after work. So hi, kids.
Yeah, our sponsor.
Hi, Cora.
Hi.
Sorry, I interrupted you there, Anjuli. What were you saying?
Oh, yes. I actually wanted to wear my Loki outfit.
Oh, that would be awesome too.
Yeah, but I lost it. So I was tearing up my whole room, and I was like, where did I leave the horns? But I couldn't find them anymore. So I'm just wearing my Loki vest, which has only the Loki. Yeah, you can see it, but
it's green and black. It's perfect Halloween colors.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. And I think on that note, we're coming up to the hour. So if you can share your screen, Anjuli, we'll let you take it away.
Yes. Let's see if it still works. It's always a surprise.
Oh, absolutely. The thing that gets me is we've been doing this now since 2020 when COVID hit. And it's still the same. Oh, excellent, Rick. You're a Loki.
Oh, good one.
Amazing. Yeah. Okay, I'm going to share my screen and then you should see my PowerPoint. I still do have
We
a
can
PowerPoint.
see your PowerPoint, so we're going to let you take it away. Thank you so much. And yeah, we'll speak to you soon. Enjoy, everybody.
Thank you. If something goes wrong, please tell me. This is actually my very, very first time streaming or yeah, giving a presentation virtually. I'm only used to giving presentations like with people in front of me. So yeah, if something goes wrong, please do tell. I only have one screen, so I cannot see the comments or anything. So please, if somebody asks something, just let me. Yeah, maybe Stacy can just say like, "Hey, somebody is asking this," or you can leave your questions for afterwards. So, getting started with Azure Static Web Apps. Um, first, first of all, this is really an amazing service of Azure. Especially if you're a lazy developer like me. And I'll first talk about who am I. I'm Anjuli Jhakry. I took the picture that Stacy made for LinkedIn. I loved it with the little ghost and the letters. I couldn't find the font though, but yeah. I'm Anjuli Jhakry. I'm a .NET developer. I was born and raised in the Netherlands, in Rotterdam. Even though my name wouldn't probably suggest that I'm Dutch, but I'm half Dutch and half Indian. So for everybody who's Indian, Sub Diwali is today. So happy Sub Diwali. Um, and I'm a .NET developer at 4.net. I've been working here for more than a year, and it's a consultancy firm. So they also place me at clients. Um, for my day-to-day job, I'm working on WinForms, which is, I know, really, really, really old, but yeah, still a really nice project to work on. And it's a very big monolith, so yeah, it's fun. I'm mainly focusing on working with .NET Blazor. I really love Blazor. And .NET MAUI. I have built, I think, now 4 apps in .NET MAUI, and I'm working on my own app for people with food intolerances and allergies because I have 2 of those. So I have a whole list of things that I cannot eat, and I was kind of frustrated that there was no app at all to yeah, help me with that. So as a normal developer would do, I created my own. These are my socials. I probably should change my name on X as well to Code with Anjuli to make it easier. Um, I also focus a lot on Intra ID. I really am interested in security and authentication. And on my YouTube channel, I have a lot of videos on how to connect your Blazor application, MAUI application, or your API in .NET with Microsoft Entra ID. And also a lot of other videos around that topic. And also, I've become a Microsoft MVP since this June. I keep adding it to my slides, otherwise I forget to mention it because it's kind of new. But I'm really happy that I have become an MVP in the .NET category. But today we're not talking about .NET. We're talking about Azure Static Web Apps. And Azure Static Web Apps is a service from Microsoft on Azure, which you can configure to kind of make your life very easy as a developer. Like I said, I'm a lazy developer, and this is the kind of the best service to use for your static web apps. But before I get into that a little bit more, I first wanted to focus on the static part of the Azure Static Web Apps because there are kind of 2 types of web apps. And if you're an absolute beginner at all with web apps, I just wanted to show you this. There's a difference between those 2. You have server-hosted web apps and static web apps. And as the name would suggest, server-hosted web apps run on a server. So what this means is the moment that your user goes to your web page, so they type the URL in the browser and they go to your web page, then the home page loads, and this page is then loaded from the server. So your application is running on a server somewhere in Azure, or it could be in Google, and then only the page that is necessary at that time is sent to the browser. And that's the only static content that is sent. But if you are using a static web app, which is more and more popular these last couple of years, then your whole application is running in the browser. So then again, when your user is going to your web page and it logs in or it goes to your homepage and it's loaded, then the whole application is loaded the first time your user goes to your web page. Yeah, that is kind of the biggest difference between these two. And Azure Static Web Apps then focus, as the name also which suggests, on static web apps. So what is Azure Static Web Apps? What does it do? Well, the cool thing about it is it makes it possible for you to just make your application, and then when you have new changes or you build a new feature, you just post it to your or you push it to your repository, or you create a pull request, and then Azure Static Web Apps handles all the things that's related to deployment and to building your application. So as I will show you in a couple of minutes, it's really easy to set this up, and then you don't have to think about deployment anymore. Because with Azure Static Web Apps, it creates or a GitHub Actions workflow, or it creates a pipeline in Azure DevOps, and you can also use other repositories, but I won't go into that too much. And then when your code changes, it just keeps track of your code changes, and then a GitHub action is fired, or a Azure DevOps pipeline, and then automatically it will be deployed to the web hosting that is provided by Azure Static Web Apps. And it is not only for your front-end application, but it's also for your API. In this case, Azure in Azure Functions mainly. But there's also going to be an example where you're not using Azure Functions later today. And with static content, we're talking about HTML, images, JavaScript, and CSS, which, okay, I've got what I wanted to say there. But this is just like the basics of how it works. So it has a lot of benefits. And like Stacey already mentioned, we focus on the free part of Azure Static Web Apps today. And that's a great benefit, right? It's free. So you can use it for all your pet projects or even bigger projects without having to pay anything. And another great benefit is that it's globally distributed hosting. So you don't have to worry about where you're hosting your application. Azure just hosts it globally for you. So it doesn't matter where your users are, they can reach your site equally as fast. And it has built-in authentication. So it works with Microsoft Entra ID, and with Entra ID you can also use other social providers like Google. I'm not sure if they are yet providing with Apple ID, but they are. You can also use Twitter, for example, to log in your application. So, which also makes it easier, right? Because a lot of developers, especially .NET developers, don't. I think, authentication is kind of a hard thing to do. Sometimes it's quite unclear how it works, how to set it up, and it's really easy to get started or to use authentication when you're using Azure Static Web Apps. Well, like I showed you before, automatic built-in deployment. It creates a workflow file for you if you're using GitHub, and then just with some code changes, it builds and deploys for you. You also get staging environments. So I think on the top of my head, but I will also show you another slide. It generates 3 or 2 staging environments when you're using the free tier. So this means that you can view your changes before it's actually deployed to to production. You can also set up custom domains, and when you create a new web app, a static web app, then it auto-generates a domain for you. I will also show you that, but you can also create 2 custom domains in the free tier. So that's the URL where your application is residing at. So, and you have free SSL certificates, which is also really nice, because then you don't have to think about how you have to create certificates, and it's also automatically renewed, and your application is automatically deployed with HTTPS endpoint. So, and it has CLI support. So you can deploy your application using CLI and other things with the CLI, but I'm not going to talk about that because there's also an amazing session about this later today. Before I continue, it's not only great to use with the .NET frameworks like Blazor, but also with way more frameworks than the popular ones, like, well, Angular and React and Vue are very popular, of course, but you can also use Hugo, Svelte, and a lot of other support frameworks, which I will also show you in the docs. Yeah, so basically almost everything that generates a static web app, you can use in Azure Static Web Apps. A little bit about the pricing. It's free for a lot of things. As you can see, the free plan provides almost everything, just as a standard plan also does. And since recently, there's also a dedicated plan, which is in preview. And you can have like I said, three staging environments per app. You can use 2 custom domains, and the only things that are paid, which is assigning a custom roles with a function, a private endpoint, or a service level agreement. But besides this, you can use almost everything that you can use if you're paying for it, which I think is really great. So now let's really get started. So for this demo, I have created a blank solution because I wanted to start from scratch. It's I really like as a developer, I really like to start from kind of nothing, because otherwise I have no idea what I'm doing. So I could have cloned. There's also a way to clone a repository. I will also show you that very quickly. If you go to learn.microsoft.com and search for deploy a Blazor app on Azure Static Web Apps, you can also clone this repository, and then you can add it in your GitHub, and then you have a starter project. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to start with just a blank solution. So I'm going to create 2 things. I'm going to create a Blazor application, which is a Blazor WebAssembly application, and that is the type of Blazor in which you can create a static web app, so that you don't need to host it on a server, and that your application is running completely in your browser. And I'm also going to create a Azure Function app. So I'll first click on Add, New Project, and click on the Blazor WebAssembly standalone app, which, as the name suggests, it's a standalone app, so you don't need a server-side project. If you create, if you're not familiar with Blazor, or you also have this template, so I kind of want to, if you're using the Blazor WebAssembly app empty, then it comes with the server-side project. So keep in mind that you have to click the Blazor WebAssembly standalone app for this to work. And I will call it client, and I will get back to why I'm calling it client later on. We can leave it as it is and click create. I'm not going to add classes and nope, kind of switches there. I'm just going to keep it at the basic application, and if I start this, you can see what it looks like. By default, if you don't know how Blazor works or what Blazor is, it is a very easy way of creating web applications with using components, Razor components, so you can combine your HTML, CSS with C#. And with the default template, you get a default application, and it just has 3 pages where you can click on the counter and it loads weather data. So this is what we're going to, what we want to see on a domain after we have posted it. Now it's just running on localhost. So the next thing I will do is create a new project and add an Azure Functions app. We create, and I will call this API. I will set this to anonymous, so this way I'm disabling authentication to make it a bit easier. And I will uncheck this because we don't need it for now. Click create. And now we have just one function that is called function1. But I'm not going to show you how to connect these applications to each other because, well, we don't need it at this moment because we're focusing on Azure Static Web Apps. So what I will do, I will push this to my repository. And then we will see when I refresh my page. It's taking longer than I expected. I'm guessing my internet is bugging me. Oh well. Let's see. Let's check if it's in the right path. Yep. I'll just leave it for now and see if it will find it later on or if there's just some delay somewhere. So the next thing I want to show you is then, well, setting up Azure Static Web Apps. So if you go to Azure and if you're completely new to Azure, well, this is the screen that you're getting. If the first time you're going to portal.azure.com or you create a new account, you first have to set up a subscription. I've already done that, but this is the way you have to pay. But it's free, so if you don't, you do have to connect your credit card or another payment method. But if you're creating a Azure Static Web App, you will not be paying for this. The first thing you have to do is within Azure, everything is tied to a resource group. And a resource group is kind of like a collection, or you can view it as a folder where all the services that you're using are grouped together, or you can group them together for a product, for example. The first thing we have to do is create a resource group. And I'll just call it Azure Static Web App Day. And I'm in the Netherlands, so I'll just pick West Europe. And click create. And then my resource group will appear soon. Today my internet is working against me. If you can't find it here, you can find it in your notifications and then go to resource group. And here is where you then create all your resources that group together. And here we can click on create resources. And if you then look for Azure Static Web Apps, you will find this Static Web App service here. And here you can click on create. And here, because I clicked create on the resource within the resource group, it automatically assigned this resource group. I can send, no, I don't want to use my own name. I can choose a name, which I will just call Blazor Web App to keep it simple. And this name only has to be unique within your own resource group. So it doesn't need to be globally unique. If you're working with Azure, a lot of times, a lot of things need to be globally unique, but for this, because it's within your resource group, it doesn't have to be unique. It defaults to standard, but of course we're going to do it for free because we don't like to pay. And here you can choose the, as you can see here, by the way, the regions, you cannot choose something else than global because it's automatically globally distributed. If we look at the deployment details, you can choose where to get your code from. So I've already done this before. So my account is already connected, my GitHub account. But if it's not, then you'll see a sign in button, and then you'll have to sign in, and then it automatically connects. And after you've done this, you can choose an organization, well, just me. And then you can choose your repository, and hopefully by now it has pushed my code, but it hasn't. So I'm going to check again, why not? Oh, it hasn't pushed, even though I already did this. Interesting. Now you see API and client in my repository. Then we can go back to the portal. And here you can choose all the frameworks, and you can see all the frameworks that you can use for to all the frameworks you can choose to host in your Azure Static Web App. And if I click on Blazor, these are all presets. So the moment you choose one of these frameworks, then Azure Static Web Apps knows how to configure everything for that specific framework. So in this case, I've used Blazor. And as you can see, it defaults to client and API. So it by default, it knows, oh, when I'm using a Blazor framework, then I need to search for a client application and an API application. And the client application is, of course, required because, well, you're deploying a web app, and your API is optional. So if you leave this blank, then it won't it will just skip it in the steps. And that's also why I named my Blazor application client and my backend application, my functions, why I called it API, because these are the Blazor defaults for Azure Static Web Apps. And if you want, you can also check here how your workflow file will look like. And this workflow file is also the thing that you will find in your GitHub repository. So if I click on review and create, also I forgot to mention this, you also have to define a branch. So I only have one branch, the main branch. And this means that when changes are pushed to the main branch, then the workflow that is created with this will fire off. We'll click create. And this is going really fast because it should be just take a couple of seconds, and then as you can see, it's already deployed. So if we go to the resource, then you're going to all the information on about your Azure Static Web App. But before I go into this, I go back to my repository, and if I refresh this, you can see there's a GitHub Workflows file folder added. And if I click on here, I can see a YAML file, which is the same workflow file that I just showed in the portal. And the cool thing about this is it not only creates this file, but it also sets the secrets necessary to run your application. So you can see here the Azure Static Web Apps API token, for example, or the GitHub token. So, and if you then go to your settings in your repository and go to secrets and variables of your actions, here you can see that it also has set the keys for you. So that takes a lot of the work away from handling your automatic deployment and handling your CI/CD. And if we go back here, then here you can find, this is like all the information, the basic information on your static web app. And here's the URL where your static web app is deployed to. So as you can see, it says, congratulations on your new site. Your site will be ready soon. Please check back later. It's not deployed yet because, well, the moment it pushed my workflow, it set off a GitHub action, and it's still waiting for this to be deployed. So as you can see here, it has it's already like building and deploying. So just in hopefully a couple of minutes, it will be completely deployed, and you can see you can see it on the URL that is defined here. And as you can see, it's like a randomly chosen URL. And if you go to settings and custom domains, you can see it auto-generated a random URL for you. So this is the default that when you're creating a new application, you always get a randomly generated domain. And this is also the place where you can add your own new custom domains if you would want to. And here you also have APIs. And let's check. Yes, the Functions app is already deployed. So if you click on Manage, then here you can see Function 1, the same as it is in my code. So within the Azure portal, you can also look at the API that you've deployed with your code quite easily. Let's see if it's already loaded. Yes, and as you can see, my application is deployed, and I can use it the same way as I could use it locally. And another cool thing is when you remove this and you do /API/ function 1, it was called. Oh, I have to check the title again. Function 1. It should be here. Kind of confused why it's not here. But yeah, in general, when you have an API, you can find it with using the /API/ and then the function or the endpoint that you've configured in your code. Then you can also find it at the same address as your front-end application. And I think with that is everything I want to show you to get started with getting started with Azure Static Web Apps. I'm thinking quickly if I want to show you something else, but no. Okay. So with this, I will go back to the stream and check if there are questions.
Hello there. Thank you for that.
Hello. Thank you very much.
The demo gods. The demo
gods always.
Are, I thought with that opening, I thought I was going to appease the demo gods, but apparently maybe I just upset them instead, in which case I apologize.
No, it's no problem. Could have expected.
We got a comment about it being related to the bad weather. So yes. You never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's
from Dominic. The demo gods don't like this grey weather either.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dominic.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm going to like figure out why it won't go to API / my function. I kind of am annoyed by that, but yeah, it should just normally go to your API.
Yeah, it always happens, doesn't it?
Case sensitive, perhaps?
Yeah, maybe. I was thinking about it. Maybe it's case sensitive. I'm going to try it out right away because I'm curious. No, because it like resets it. No,
yeah,
not case sensitive. No. Weird.
It's one of those things. It's we've all had to deal with the demo gods when you try and do something and it doesn't work. But I think it did give a really nice tour of just what you can do to get started. And when you're not trying to stream it on the internet, it generally does work better. That's been my experience too.
Yeah, and I also kind of had to get used to like not seeing my audience. So at some point, I'm like, yeah.
Talking into the camera for the first time is definitely a something. I go with that. You did a great job. Thank you. We do have some questions in the chat. First question was from Fuel Snable over on Twitch.
Okay.
Is there a risk that the free plan becomes not free if I overuse it?
Ooh, that's a good question. I'm not sure. I think Stacey knows. So like, I see you as like the Azure Static Web Apps god. Like,
as far as I'm aware, always that wonderful proviso at the start. But as far as I'm aware, it always stays free. But you will lose access. So, oh, there we go.
it has
Free
limits.
has a limit.
Yeah.
Free has a limit. Yeah, that was my understanding. Thank you for clarifying that, Rick. So I'm assuming that when you hit that limit, then basically you lose connectivity to your app. I don't think it just suddenly switches and starts to cost you money. I don't think. I've never managed to hit the limit, so I'm not sure. But yeah, that was my understanding. And then there's a couple of things that I wanted to say as well. When you select your repo, if the demo gods have smiled on you and if everything is pushed up to your repo, the latest version of the ARM in the portal will look at your repo and it will automatically fill it for you.
Yeah.
So that I think is really cool. It's if you just go in there with an existing app, it will tell you that you need to find it in this place, or it finds it in this place. You know, we've selected the Blazor one for you. Is that what you wanted to do? And you can still modify it, but it just takes that step away. So I think that's just an extra level of awesomeness on top.
Yeah, I wish I could have shown them, because like when I was preparing that, then you saw that I think it says like in between, like that it guessed that, like it predicted that. Yeah, but also what I forgot to mention is that when you don't have to, in your workflow file, you don't have to define which type of framework you're using. It automatically looks at your repo. You just have to define where your project is or where your projects are residing and what the name is, and then it will just automatically figure out like, oh, it's Angular or it's Blazor, and then you just have to do that.
Yeah,
but it's also really cool.
And it's also just presets for the workflow file. I mean, there's no magic going on inside of the static web app solution at all. It's just for building the deployment script for GitHub to pick the right pieces and put them in the right place.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which also means that if you start on one type of technology and you move to a different one, again, as long as you point it to the right place in your workflow file, it just works for you. It's one of those automagical things in IT which, when it works, is absolutely superb, and it works most of the time. Okay, I see we have another comment from Rick. Thank you, Rick. Yep. Free has 100 gig per subscription included and does not have an option of overage. That's what I thought. So thank you for confirming that, Rick.
Thank you.
As long as you're not pumping out humongous amounts of data per month, you should be kind of covered with the free version. It's
and you can also set alerts in Azure, like when you're
about to spend money.
That warn you when you're reaching that point. But I think it's quite hard to get to that.
When you have your credit card added, you can set a hard limit of $0 on it.
Okay.
I didn't know that one. Thank you for that.
No, I didn't know that.
So the service will shut down when you reach 0, or you can set $10.
Yeah.
I do not want to spend more money than this.
Oh, that's really nice.
So you say you can't do the accidental thing of just like opening up the wrong resource and suddenly swearing.
No. Yeah.
Oh, I've heard that happen so many times.
Okay, standard is 8 per app per month.
Yeah, so cheap.
Yeah, they are super cheap.
Especially for what you get.
Yeah, and I say, I mean, you don't have to use the standard app. So you can use the zero budget. My personal website runs on Static Web Apps, and it runs on the zero budget one. It's I keep on getting emails from Azure once a month saying, "Hey, you owe us 0 cents."
Then the first sentence is like scary, like, oh, you owe us something, like, oh no, is some service blown up? Did I
but
do
no.
something wrong? But yeah.
It's I think the biggest bill that I've seen one month was 1 cent, which was shocking.
Unacceptable.
Yeah, absolutely unacceptable.
Yeah.
On the other side of the coin, be careful with that and do set your limits. Have you seen the website Have I Been Pwned?
Oh, yes.
He had a small overage of $24,000 one month.
Yeah, not on Static Web Apps, but on another part of Azure, yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think some new service decided to download everything he had and run queries with every single email they had in their system.
Yeah, that suddenly got expensive. I remember that one.
Yeah, be careful.
Be careful. It's that's always a good thing when you're putting your credit card online. Be careful.
Yeah.
I have done it myself, but thankfully it was on a subscription that I got from my work with the Visual Studio Enterprise. So I had 150 euros a month that I could spend, whatever it is. And I forgot to turn off a virtual machine. And 3 days into the month, I had no credits left. And I was very pleased that was on one of the subscriptions that I wasn't actually paying for. It was just credits I was using. That's the best way to learn.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, we had the same when I was still studying. We also had like student credits was also 150. Yeah, mistakes were made there.
Yes.
But also one of the first lessons we learned from our teacher was like, watch out, it's going to cost you money and everything's going to be like drained within your first days if you because we were starting with SQL storage, I think. So,
right. Yeah.
Yeah, you really had to configure that correctly for it not to completely drain your account.
Does Static Web Apps have good support for a fronting CDN? For example, putting Cloudflare or something in front of it for image delivery and things like that, so that doesn't affect your 100 gigs.
About affecting the 100 gigs, I'm not sure. It is hosted on a CDN.
Yeah.
So it is hosted around the world on a CDN, so your content is always close to your users. And it also clears that cache whenever you do a deploy. So again, it just takes that bit out of your what you have to set up yourself as well.
Yeah.
Whether or not, at what point it counts towards your data, that I don't know. That one I would have to look into. There we go. Isn't it great having Rick in the chat? Enterprise Grade Edge allows you to add front door if you want to. So you can add it to there. That is an extra. So for that one, you have to take the standard version, and it's an extra on top of the standard version, just so that you know those ones.
Yeah.
Okay.
But do you need that kind of features when you're also happy with the free tier? Probably not.
No, I would say for the free tier, especially when you're learning, if you can get away with using the free tier, get away with using the free tier. That would absolutely be my recommendation.
Yeah, and the free tier is very generous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You have almost everything that you also have when paying for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think
how much compute time do you get on the Azure functions for Static Web Apps?
It just goes against your standard function count.
So that's 60 minutes total then?
Yeah.
On the free part. Gotcha.
Yeah. So it's however many calls you get to your functions per month before you have to pay. I believe it goes on to that.
Yeah.
And yeah, nice comment from Dominic there. If you leave the free tier, only do so if the app makes more money than it costs. 100% agree with that one.
Yeah, or if you like it, I mean, you could have a free application online as well for yourself. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Hanselman.com.
Something like that. Yeah. Although I know that runs on something different.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
point being,
The other thing that I think is worth mentioning at this point, can you tell us a little bit about doing pull requests, Anjuli? Because pull requests in static web apps are also quite cool.
Oh, to be honest, I haven't tried it out. I've just been looking. I've been just trying it out on the main branch, which is super bad.
It's when you do a pull request on a static web app. The other thing that I think really ties into it, and I'm not going to go further because apparently I'm going to destroy Rick's talk here. So I'm going to keep stum. Zip.
I also had that, like, when preparing for the getting started, there were so many things like, oh, CLI is cool, I'm going to show it. Oh, no, that's another talk. Maybe configure. Oh, no, that's another talk. So it's really hard to, like, do getting started and tell features without getting into them, because there were so many other talks today, like that.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Apparently, we are allowed to say it. We're not going to ruin the talk. Thank you, Rick. So it's something that I loved about it when I started. Not only do you get the CI/CD when you merge to main, or when you push to main and everything gets updated, and even if you don't know how GitHub Actions worked, which I didn't when I started with this back in the day, when you make a pull request, it automatically spins you up an environment. So in your pull request, you get a link as a comment in your pull request. You can click on that link, have a look at something running in Azure. And then if you like it, you can complete your pull request. It merges into your main and deploys and cleans up your staging environments for you, which is a really cool feature, I think, to help people get started. And it's all in one GitHub task. So everything, it's just easy. It's nice. It is a really simple way to get into doing things properly, as opposed to just, FTPing to web servers like we did back in the 90s in order to do a deploy.
Control-C,
Nice.
Control-V.
Yes.
Straight onto the server.
What was our source control? The ASP files
I have done
on
that.
the server.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I don't think that we have any other questions in the chat. We're slightly early, but I think that's fine.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any final comments, Anjuli?
No, I'm happy that I could be here, and it's really, I think for a first time stream, it went quite okay.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, it went great.
Thank you.
And have fun, everyone, the rest of the day.
Yeah. And also, thank you for agreeing to be the first person when it's your first time streaming and you kicked off the conference.
It was exciting. Yes.
Awesome. Thank you.
No problem. Have a nice day.
So thank you, and have a good rest of the day. Oh, Adam, we have one
Robert
question.
Mill has a question.
Wow, Robert, you came in there right at the last moment.
Second there.
What is your question?
Thank you.
We have nice work from Dukasoft.
Thank you.
Just waiting for the question to come through.
Ooh, it's so exciting.
This is a point where you're waiting for the internet from across several different countries.
I'm so happy that my internet didn't stop, because yesterday I was working from home and it stopped 3 times for 20 minutes.
I'm glad that I have a wooden desk today, because it's last week my internet was fine, but my internet provider's router died, so all of the LAN ports died, and I'm on wired internet. So I'm just hoping that doesn't happen today. But yeah, nice desk here. Oh, and I think me and Eric just clicked the same thing at the same time.
Yeah.
Is there a difference between using GitHub or Azure?
I'm guessing Azure DevOps there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it also it does the same. Well, it doesn't create a workflow, but it does create the pipelines and the steps needed to deploy it. So it's also kind of a click and play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've used that myself, and just as you said, when you select GitHub, it creates a GitHub script. When you select Azure, it creates a pipeline script. And
So it does that for you. And You can even click on the other, and you can deploy it from anywhere using the CLI, which we have a talk coming up at, I believe, 6 o'clock.
And just if you don't have your Azure account connected to your GitHub account or to your DevOps account, for example, if you saw that, you can preview the script. So you can set it up in exactly the same way, grab the script, put that in GitHub or Azure DevOps entirely manually, and it'll work. You have to set up the secret, though, as well.
Yeah. Okay. So awesome last question. Thank you so much, Robert. Thank you again, Anjuli. Enjoy the rest of the day. And
Thank you.
bye-bye for now.
Enjoy.
Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
See you.